And I'm coming on to talk to you guys about this thing that I have seen constantly in several different Facebook groups, which is, um, like what I have been learning is that you should not take your gifts for granted. And I will tell you, I absolutely do take my gift for granted, my gift of story. Just a quick story. I am the kid who, when I had to clean the dishes, let me back up real fast. So I grew up with my aunt and my grandmother oftentimes because my mom, she worked or she went out and she did her thing at night. Um, and so, you know, we had to have babysitters. And so uh, during the day, we would watch these stories. We would watch Nina and Cricket. We would watch General Hospital. We would watch, and by we, it was usually me with my aunt and my grandmother. And we would watch these stories. And I became enthralled by the stories. Not necessarily the gossip part of it, but just the way that these stories actually never ended and how they hooked you and brought you on to the next and to the next. And before I even knew anything about Romeo and Juliet, whenever I washed the dishes, I would have this fork and this spoon or this spoon and this knife, and I'm putting the dishes together, and the dishes had to be done a specific way, a certain type of cups with certain type of cups, dishes and forks. And so I made a story about a spoon and a fork that wanted to be together, but they could not because they needed to be with their family. And as I said, I had no idea about Romeo and Juliet. I had no idea about groups and gangs and all that kind of stuff. I just knew that these two people, the spoon and this fork that wanted to be together, could not be together because of circumstances. And so basically what I'm trying to illustrate to you is that story has always been part of my life. And so for me, it has been the thing that I have taken for granted. And, you know, and I have allowed people over the last couple of years of being an entrepreneur to try to fit me into a peg that didn't actually fit. Because of my teaching background, my 13 years of teaching, because of my writing background, 3 times Amazon bestseller, because of my education background, I'm a creative writing major with a bachelor's degree in English creative writing. Because of that background, people are like, you need to teach people how to write books. And so I listen to them, and I will tell you, I hit wall after wall, being frustrated about trying to fit in this peg that was just a little too square for me. And it wasn't until this year when I attended a major conference back in April that I realized, hey girl, you're different. You are all about the story. You're not about books, you're about the story. You're not about trying to entertain people, you are about empowering people through their stories. Because the more I talk to people, the more I sat and did client work, the more I help people, develop business ideas from the conversations that we had in my many intensive sessions, the more I did that, the more I realized that people did not value their story. And that seems like such a throwaway thing, like maybe something completely mundane. But the truth of the matter is that right there, that very key of valuing your story is where the power and the clarity around everything you're here to do, that's where it lies. There was a sermon that I listened to during the Crazy Faith series where one of the pastors came out and he said, your purpose is in your story. And that resonated so strongly with me because I know that to be true. And so what I want people to understand is you can't run away from what you've been through. You can't run away from the frustrations of today. You can't run away from any of that because every single piece of that is a building block to who you are today. And inside, encoded inside all of those building blocks is your story. And I want you to understand that that's almost a misnomer right there. Because I'm saying story as if it's a singular thing, but your story is a plural thing. See, the thing is, we are not made up of one story. we're made of a multitude of stories. And so the more that you try to force yourself to be inauthentic, the more you try to force yourself to do business the way these male-dominated industries do it, such as Tony Robbins or even Gary Vee, the more you try to be like them and deny who you actually are, the further away you get from having a business that is sustainable, scalable, and authentic to you. So, here's the thing. If you're finding yourself with some confusion around who your audience is, what you want to offer, what business you can create, what your skill set is, where your purpose lies, if you find yourself with any confusion in this area, it is going to be because you don't honor, value, and maybe even know your story. So, the title of this live is this: Finding Your Story is Easy. Everything that you need. I love the freedom these AirPods give me. Literally, everything that you need is trapped in here. Every single thing that you need is trapped in here. And the thing is, it is going to be really hard for you to find it by yourself. And I say that because, again, and I don't know if this is something that you run into, but this is definitely something that I run into. I can have a gift for somebody else, but that gift is very hard to use on myself. So looking at our own stories makes it very hard to see the nuggets within that will really resonate with the type of people that we're trying to attract, and would really resonate with the type of will really send out the message that we really want to send. I'm using the word really too much. I hear it and I don't like it, but whatever, we're gonna go with it. And so when I tell you that your story is absolutely easy to find, I'm not saying that in a facetious way. I'm telling you that as the absolute truth. And I have a method that I employ in my 4-part program called Master Your Story. I have a method inside of there where in week 1, in part 1, we not only find your story, we find what the nuggets are within your story, and we figure out who it is that you're talking to, all in part 1. Now, when I tell you that this is invaluable, I do not say this as a person who's trying to gas you or sell you something. I'm telling you this as somebody who has watched my clients grow. And the way that I do it is, I don't use the business words because I honestly don't know them. I know about KLT because that's got shoved down my throat these 4 years of entrepreneurship. I know about KLT. I learned what a KPI is. I don't even know what that looks like. So I won't be giving you that kind of stuff. I've found out that an ICA is an ideal client avatar, which we call the target audience, which we call, all these BS. Listen, I come from the education field, so all we have are letters. There's ABC and DEF and whatever. Everybody comes up with an anagram or whatever they call that thing. I just can't remember right now. I'm on vacation, B. But anyway, so I know that this business thing is really, really fuzzy. I come at you humanly. I come at you with a humanistic, holistic approach. I come at you with a way that through story, you actually find your story. So in the week 1 of Master Your Story, like I said, I take you through 2 exercises. Both of them are incredibly simple exercises. It's just Socratic method. I am asking you questions in part 1, and then I'm leading you down an exercise that asks you even more questions in part 2. But when I tell you, as simplistic of an exercise as both of those things are, the results are valuable. The things that people have walked away with have been humbling and explosive. Hey, Brenda. And so I'm actually going to play in just a little bit. I'm actually going to post on here on my public page. What do they call this thing? Personal profile. There we go. I'm actually going to post on my personal profile and maybe my business one as well, and maybe YouTube, wherever you're watching this video. I'm going to post a video of the immediate responses that a few of the ladies that I just completed part one with a week or so ago, their immediate response to the exercise, so that you cannot hear me. I want you to hear somebody else. I want you to hear someone else delivering the truth of what they had and master your story. And so I'm going to mention right now, because it is, as I said, December 28th, and this deal only lasts until December 31st. You can get all 4 parts for just $197. All 4 parts. And as I said, in March, this program is going up to $19.97. It's going up incrementally. So it's going to go up in January, go up in February, and then in March it's going to be its real price of $19.97. And it is capped at 15 students, and I just had somebody else claim one of those spots just now on my post earlier. Listen, do yourself a favor. Like, if you have any goal or resolution or even a power word on your board that says that you are going to show up, you're going to be authentic, you might even decide that you're going to become an author. I don't care which one it is that you decide. That you're going to show up more in your business, you're going to hit stages, or you're going to be an author. Whatever your actual goal is, if you want to get clear in your business, you're going to want to go ahead and grab this. Because at $197, I'm telling you, you will never beat it. You will never beat that price. And if I gave it to you free, that would be an absolute insult. Like, seriously, because it just would, because you would not value it, and neither would I. And so I want you to understand that I'm going to show up full as if you are paying the $19.97, and I need you to show up full as if you're paying the $19.97 also, because as I said, this is a very powerful program. And I just told you about part one, so let me go ahead and tell you part two. So part two, we're going to shape your story. So all the work that we did in part one, the following week, we're going to pull it into part two, where we are going to use my 7T storytelling method to write out your story. And so you can use it as a blog post, you can use it as an article, you can use it as an email series, you can use it as whatever you need to use it for, but you will know how to share your story after part two. Additionally, on part two, we are going to workshop them. So I have a private Facebook group for the Master Your Story students, and so you're going to be workshopping with each other. Depending on how many students we have in here, if we get the full 15, then obviously that's an odd number, and so we'll figure that out. But if we have an even number, then you will have a workshopping partner. Otherwise, I might do triads, that way it's 5 groups with 3 people. And then we're going to come on live, and we will create breakout rooms inside of Zoom where you guys can workshop with each other, give each other feedback. And I'm talking about for real feedback, not that, oh my God, it was so good. I don't believe in that kind of feedback. That feedback is crap. Okay. I'm talking about the real one. Like, I would click on this. I would scroll past this. I don't like how you said this. Can you say it like this? So we're really going to workshop it on part 2. Again, if you have ever been part of a mastermind group or ever been part of a cohort, you know that at this point, we are way past the value of $197, just in part 1 and part 2. In part 3, what we're going to do in part 3 is we are going to create a list builder, a freemium, or some kind of call to action for you off of your story that we have generated in part 1, and that you're going to use to attach to part 2. And so in part 3, we're going to create it. And then in part 4, and again, I'm pretty sure you know the value of an email list. I can't tell you how an email list, what do they say? They say you count each person on your email list as $1, something like that. So then, and I just learned some stuff too about how to create a bot. So we can figure out how to do that if we need to. But part 4 is we're going to share it. So in part 4, you're actually going to have a social share challenge. So we're going to take the story from part 1 that we generated into a written product of some sort in part 2, that we created a list builder that is going to be some juicy part of the content that we're sharing in part 3, to then share it in part 4. So in part 4, you are going to be required, and you'll have the support. You'll have the support of the cohort of showing up live to share your story. And so we will do that every no, we're not doing that every day. We have a part 2 due every day for the live component, but then we're going to show up and share it. So I know you guys see the value is way past, hey, Tammy, I know you see the value is way past $197 for those 4 parts, but I'm telling you, like, until December 31st, that's what it is. And honestly, I'm only saying that because I already said it. So, because actually, the way that it has shifted, like I said, in January it's going to go up, February it's going to go up, and in March it's going to be $19.97. And it might go up after that as well, because it is really, really powerful. I'm very invested. My energy, you get everything. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm not a person who holds back very much. And so a lot of the times, even though I have an hour scheduled for each class, a lot of the times our classes do go, your choice, but do go like 2 hours. We've actually had 2.5-hour classes before. Hey, Elisa. So I just wanted to share with you guys that, again, finding your story is so easy. And I usually hesitate to use the word easy, simply because easy sounds like something you can take for granted. But it really is easy. And so the simplistic approach that we're going to do inside of Master Your Story will show you how easy it has been, and that it is the easiest it will ever be for you. And once you complete Master Your Story, you have a rinse and repeat system that you can use over and over again. You'll know who you're talking to every single time you go live, who you're talking to every time you hit the stage, who you're talking to every time you write down a word in a page for your book. The clarity that comes with Master Your Story has been invaluable for me, and it has been invaluable for my clients. And so, as I said, I only have 15 spots for the $197 by December 31st. If those spots are not filled by December 31st, it doesn't matter. Come January 1st, it goes up to $697 for the program. So, and then you'll spend the $197 to just get part 1 as a trial. So you can either do it now and get the entire program. We start January 2nd, so you can get the entire program to start January 2nd. I'm talking about we're hitting the ground running. I get back in town January 2nd in the morning. So that's how committed I am to helping you start off 2020 with, seriously, and this sounds cliche, but with the clearest vision that you have ever had in probably all your years of entrepreneurship. I'm not going to sit here to convince you, because the only people I need in my space are the people who have already decided they're going to do the work. So I honestly don't need to even convince anybody. I just want you guys to know, because I'm a person who needs to get better at letting people know what I have available. If you want it, all you got to do is on this live or on the post on my page, just write the word claimed, and you will claim your seat, and I will send you the link so that you can go ahead and do it. I will tell you that if there is a need for a 2-pay system, I do have that. So it'll be $197 pay in full, or a 2-pay system of $99 each. So that will come out to $198, so it's $1 more. So if you need a 2-pay system, that's cool. You can just do claimed times 2. And then that way I'll send you the link for the 2-pay system. And the second payment would be due before we do part 2. So will be due before the 9th. Does that make sense? So do you guys have any questions about sharing your story? It doesn't have to be about Master Your Story. I'm yours right now. I'm available right now. We're hitting the road early in the morning. So I want to know if you guys have any questions about sharing your story. I'm all yours, all ears, and I will answer anything that you have to ask me. If I know the answer, I will give it to you, because, I don't hold back. So is there anybody who has a question? I know at Facebook we're a little bit lagged behind, so I'm trying to see if I can find it. Okay, I know we have a few people on here. Just trying to, oh, shoot. I didn't add you to my group, girl. All right, so any questions? I'm trying to look on. That is so cool. I have 911 followers on my business page. Yes, y'all, it's an emergency. So yeah. So if there aren't any questions, then I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So again, finding your story is really easy, and I'm gonna tell you how to do it. But the simple fact of the matter is, you really can't do it by yourself, if that makes any sense. So again, how to do it is very simple. All you have to do is go back through your cranium, like look back through your memories, pull out all your stories, and figure out what story it is that you have that can illustrate something that you've learned over the course of your life that is valuable in the course of your business. So the stories that you have should connect to your audience in some way, shape, or form. Like I said, it's just really, really simple. And I'm really not making that very light. Finding your story is super simple. Like literally in Master Your Story, just to go back real quick, Master Your Story, I only ask you 7 questions. If that makes sense. In part 1, in the first part of part 1, I only ask you 7 questions. In the second part of part 1, I only ask you 8. So in those 15 questions that I ask you, you will be so clear on your story and who you're talking to. It is ridiculous how that works. But you know, you can't knock things that God gives you. So it's like, okay, all right, so I see you divine, you working. But yes, so finding your story, it's real simple. Here's a quick illustration. So I've been talking about this for a little while, about how I've been an entrepreneur for the last 4 years. I actually got into entrepreneurship in 2015. No, hold on, pause. 5 years. I got into entrepreneurship in 2014 when I became a do-over mom to a pair of twins. And so when they were 8 months old, I got introduced to a multi-level marketing company called Jamberry. I was a teacher who was struggling. I'm talking about, I was looking at eviction earlier that year. I had a 24-hour notice on my door in February of that year. And I slept on the floor of my apartment with my twins because I had to hurry up and get my furniture out of there. The fortunate thing of that, like God always works so amazingly. The fortunate thing about that is the notice was served to me on a Friday. The sheriff doesn't do things on a Saturday. And so from Friday to Monday, I had time to move my things. And so on Monday, I had talked to enough friends who knew my situation that they told me to go to the court. So I went to the court on Monday. I missed work. I went to the court on Monday and I asked for a stay. I let the judge know that I was on bed rest and maternity leave, and that's how my money got janky, and that's why I was facing an eviction. And so the judge granted the stay, took all the money that I had. Thank God it was tax time. It was February. So I got tax money. I had just got paid. So I gave all my money to the court system so that they can hold it in whatever they had to hold it in. They had to hold it in something so that they can do the mediation. And in March I did the mediation and everything just worked out. You know, a church came through to help. Like, just things just really worked out. But I was teaching in Miami, and Miami is notorious for not paying their teachers any kind of livable salary. For instance, the standard of living, the cost of living in Miami is over $70,000. It has been over $70,000 since 2005. Well, in 2014, I was only making $43,000, and I had a brand new set of twins. And so now you can see how my situation was that dire, right? So in June of 2014, I got introduced to Jamberry, and I saw Jamberry as a way of having a business without having to really start a business, and it just like took off for me. Like, I did really well. I made $1,000 that summer. So it just did very well for me. And so that was my introduction into entrepreneurship, but through MLM. But then came Then came Periscope. And in 2015, I got on Periscope. And I got on Periscope for fun with Jamberry. I went to the Jamberry conference, so I'm on Periscope like, hey, y'all, wish y'all were here. And people were following me and stuff like that. But then I accidentally landed on Nicole Walters at the time. I accidentally landed on Nicole Walters' Periscope. And all of a sudden, I started learning about personal brand. And I was like, how do I brand myself differently than Jamberry? I'm going to get to the point of this story in a second. So, I wanted to know how to brand Shaniqua, separate of Jamberry. And what ended up happening is I separated from Jamberry because I wasn't Jamberry. I was Shaniqua, And so, I had quit teaching actually that year because, again, I was facing eviction yet again. And I was like, here I am taking care of other people's children and I can't take care of my own. I quit and I hit resign. No plan, nothing. But as I stood there looking out at the parking lot, I went, oh shit, who am I now that I'm not a teacher? And I panicked. Let me tell you, and this is where your story really comes in. I didn't know my story. The only thing I was talking about at the time was sexual assault. And I didn't want to be known for sexual assault. So I rejected that completely. I wrote the book on it, but that was just to get it out and get it done. So I rejected that. And here I am, unemployed, waiting on retirement money, going, who the hell am I? And so for the next 3 years, I bounced from other MLMs to other MLMs, trying to figure out who I was. Meanwhile, as I said earlier in this live, people are telling me, oh, you're a book coach. So I'm trying to be a book coach, but I don't want to be a book coach because I don't want to teach. Like, I don't want to teach people how to write a book. Why do I have to convince you to write your story? Like, it just made no sense to me. Like, why do I have to go, writing a book is easy. You should write today. Like, I was just like, I was thrown by it because I don't have time for people's excuses, in case you haven't realized. So I don't have time for people's excuses. I'll listen to them, but I'm not listening to them because my attention span doesn't work that way. Like, okay, you got excuses. I'm not going to push you. Okay, you're done. So that's fine. Go ahead, talk. That's fine. You'll eventually come to where I want you to be, hopefully. So I was listening to people tell me that I'm a book coach, but it wasn't about the books for me. I always cared about your story. And so fast forward, 2018, October, in an ambulance, going to the hospital, and I went, who the hell am I? Like, here it is, 4 years later, I'm still wondering, who am I? Who the hell is Shaniqua? How does she show up? She's not Nicole Walters. She's not Tracy Timberlake. She's not April. She's not anybody. She's Shaniqua. But who is Shaniqua? And how does she show up? And how does she talk? She has a ghetto name, but she's not a ghetto girl. Like, who is Shaniqua? Who is this dichotomy that is walking around? What's her voice? What does she sound like? Where does she fit in? And, being faced with my mortality of really honestly going, I literally could have died today. Because for those of you who don't know the story, I had a whole bunch of blood clots in my lungs. So all it would have taken, and I've seen this on Ally McBeal where the guy was doing a court case and all of a sudden he dropped dead because one went into his brain. I lost a grandmother already on aneurysms. I lost a grandfather to a stroke. And so I'm just sitting here like, I literally could have died. Like, I faced my mortality. Like, if you go back into my photos here on my personal page and you go into my videos, you'll see those videos, I think, of me in the hospital. Because I was there for 5 days. Like, really, like, trying to work through what the hell almost happened. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I got in a car accident, my life flashed before my eyes. It was literally, I could have died and I wouldn't have even known. And I won't get into how I knew. It's a whole spiritual thing, like angels showed up, like that kind of thing. But anyway, so when I got out of that hospital, I really asked myself those questions, like, who am I? Like, here I am, I'm approaching 40. I was about to be 40 in about 6 or 7 months. And I'm going, who the hell am I? Like, why do I not know who I am? And I don't know if any of you have felt that way. If you have, please let me know. But it wasn't a midlife crisis, because a midlife crisis would be I'm pivoting. what it was a wake up, because I wasn't living. I was asleep for 20 years of my life. Like, literally, after I got raped at 16, I fell asleep. I fell asleep on my life. You know, I just went wherever the wind blew, as if I was just a feather drifting in the wind. You know, like somebody was like, hey, did you apply for college? Sure, I'll apply for college. Hey, what college are you going to? Well, my mom works at UM, so I'll go there. Hey, what are you going to study? I don't know. I know a teacher. I'll just do education. Like, nothing had purpose and intention in my life. Not a single thing, except I got to graduate. Like, that's the only thing that was a purposeful decision by me, was that people were telling me I wasn't going to graduate, and I said, I will not be that statistic. I will. That's the only drive that I had over the course of my life. Like, even with the twins, I gave birth to the twins on October 22nd, 2013, and I finished my last class on October 25th on the bed with my laptop as I was recovering from my C-section in the hospital, because I was like, no, I'm going to finish. And so, like education has been my only drive. And so once all that was done, it was like, who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? And what is my story? What is my truth? And so I created a program that fall. So last fall, I created a program, and I actually built it around a friend. Every time we were supposed to meet, I prayed to God, and I was like, okay, God, what are we talking about today? Like, I didn't even know what that program was. I called the program Find Your Voice, Use Your Voice. And all I knew was, I just knew what the first lesson was going to be, which was the exercise that I did, which is in part 1. And so every time we showed up, I prayed. I was like, okay, God, give me the lesson. Okay, God, give me the lesson. So when I tell you that Master Your Story, all 4 parts are divinely ordained, I am not gassing you up. I'm not saying that I'm somebody super special. I'm saying I'm literally the vessel that's being used to help release people. And so if you are ready to be released from your stuck place, your confusion, your hamster wheel, you're going to want to get a Master Your Story. That's a long way to say it, because once you know your story, like myself, you will get clear on your business, how you show up, and you'll start making money. You'll start seeing the money that's coming to you be more in line with who you are. You will stop rejecting the money, because it will not be a season of imposter syndrome. It would be a season of being qualified and called. Because once you go back and you look at your story, your part in it, your strength, when you see what your weaknesses were, but they're really not weaknesses, they were your pain points and your trials to overcome. Once you look through all of that stuff, you're going to know that you are the person who is qualified and called to show up and to help lead the people out of whatever their wilderness is, to whatever their promise is. And I do want you to understand that even when you do figure that part out, know that you're just part of the journey. And I use the word just very heavily there, because people will not stay with you your whole life. You know what I mean? So you are just meant to get your people to their next part of their journey. But that is a great responsibility. But the only time you can actually step into that responsibility is when you know yourself. When you know your own powers, when you know your own strength, and when you know that you are the person designed, destined, and qualified to be the person who leads. So what that means is you got to be the master of your own story. And if you want the seat, if you want to grab one of the 15 seats at the $197 price, like, every time I say it, I'm like, did you really do that? Yes. Okay. This is the end of the year sale. So if you want to grab it, I really suggest you do, because like I said, in January it's going up to $697, and in February it's doubling, and then in March it will be $1997. So grab your seat. I think I talked long enough. I have a lot of writing to do because I do have to finish the rewrite of this screenplay. And I look forward to talking to you guys on January 2nd inside of the Master Your Story 4-part masterclass, which is dope. All right. So if y'all don't have any questions, because I don't see any questions, so if you don't have any questions, then we're going to go ahead and end. And if you do have questions, please drop them below. I will be following up with you as I see them arrive. And if you want that seat, type the word claimed, and I will follow up with you with the link to claim it. And remember, I do have a 2-part option, 2-pay option. This 2-pay option, the $197 price is only until the 31st. So, we're gonna end that price because I don't know why I did that price. We're gonna end that price on the 31st. We're gonna count it as the end of the year sale, and so I really suggest that people do grab it. So again, 1-pay is $197, 2-pay is $198 because it's $99 each. All right, so that is it. I will talk to you guys later. Again, I hope to see you in Master Your Story. If you want it, type claimed and I'll send you the link. All right, guys? So, and if it's the 2-pay, do claimed times 2 and I'll send you that link instead. All right, so talk to y'all later. Bye.